Thanks, Rob. You've pretty much explained it there, so we're done now. Cheers. Hi, I'm Matt. So I am a gym owner, like all of you guys. Well, most of you guys sitting here. I've owned my gym since '94. When I don't look old enough, I know, but the grey beard does give it away. This last year, it's gone completely white. It's been a bad year. So I've owned my gym since '94, and we've seen many different things go through the industry over the years. And one of the things that are you giving me feedback there, guys? Yeah. Go with that side. So one of the things that's has really troubled me over the years, at one point we had 5 gyms and we're down to 1 now. And the 4 gyms, over the years, we've basically closed them down as low-cost operators came into the area, and it made life harder and harder and harder. And we've left with the original gym, which is the Atrium Fitness Club in Ely. We're a club where we had 1,800 members pre-lockdown, and as we just heard from Guy, we are about 80% back. We're not one of these gyms that comes back and says, "Oh, we're smashing it. We're at 130% of where we were before lockdown." We're about 80%, and we're working hard to try and get them back, and we're working hard to basically mind the old members, the ex-members that cancelled during lockdown. And we're getting there. We are getting there. So anyway, why am I here today? So the title of this talk is How to Get to Know Your Members Without Slicing Them Up. When I said that's the title of the talk, my wife said, "Are you going for the serial killer talk?" And I said, "Yeah, pretty much, actually." This all started with this guy here, who is a member of my gym. So he's an interloper. He's not actually a gym owner at all. He's a member of my gym, has been for many years, and we started working out together. And I know you can tell it's a work in progress. We're getting there, but we've been doing it a few years now. Anyway, Gaz was chatting to me about personality profiling, and I went, "Not that stuff. I've done it all before. I've done a Myers-Briggs. I've done all that kind of thing. Jesus." And he went, No, you need to look at this stuff. This is a little bit different. When you did your profiling before, what did you do with it? And I said, nothing. I did a test. It told me I was something, an IMTB or something like that, and I did nothing with it. It did nothing at all. So he said, well, let's carry on a little bit further. And he did a test with me, and he debriefed me, and he talked me through it, and he spent hours on it. And actually, I was like, well, actually, this is really interesting. What do we do if we did this with my team, my employees? So we started to understand each other a little bit better. So we did that, and we came here. This is how we got here. So today we're going to talk to you about the journey that we've gone on with my team and my members of my club, and how we're doing this in my club right now, and how Gaz has helped me along with that. It says Graham there, but he likes to be called Gaz. Anyway, it's Gaz.
So we were working out one morning, and I said, I've got this really cool new tool that we're using in my recruitment business. So I'm ex-military, served in the army for 6 years, and for the last 20 years I've been running a recruitment business for ex-military. So the profiling stuff I really get, and I've done a lot of work around that. And I said, this is brilliant. And Matt said, it's a load of crap. I said, these things don't work. I said, well, how did it not work for you before? I said, what did you do with it afterwards? He said, well, nothing. He said, I just looked at the profile. I said, that's me, and did nothing with it. I said, well, we like to monitor and measure all these things so you get the maximum value of it. He said, okay, I'll give it a go then. So he did the profiler and said, oh, this is actually quite good. Can you do my team? So fine. So I said, we'll do the team, see how we got on. So we profiled Matt's team. And in the session, there was a racked ex-army PT in there. And I said to him, right, John, I said, I'm a new member coming into the gym for the first time. Train me. What are you going to do with me? So I'm going to get you on the treadmill. I'm going to beast you for 30 minutes. Then off the treadmill, I'm going to get you onto the rowing machine. I'm going to destroy your muscles for another half an hour on that. As soon as you're finished with that, with the sweat pouring off you, I'm going to get you onto the free weights. And another half an hour on that, you're going to be dead by the end of that. I said, John, that sounds amazing, because that's exactly how I like to train. And I turned to one of the other PTs, Erin, and I said, Erin, how would you feel about being trained like that? And she went like that. I said, ooh, that's interesting. Different people like to train in different ways. This is not skill. This is about behaviour. It's about how we train. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit more in a wee while. The problems.
So we all know the problems. Keep it going, mate. So I would say that half my life, the team are basically my problem. Certainly at the moment, I've got 2 people off with COVID at the moment, out of a team of 6. I've got other people being pinged. It's difficult. The staff didn't want to come back much after lockdown. They all wanted to behave differently, and it's a nightmare. We're struggling to recruit, I bet each one of you are, and we're having a bloody pain in the arse at the moment. So 50% of my life definitely is my staff problems. The members are 35% of the other problem. I know our gyms would be fantastic if it wasn't for the staff and the members. We'd love it. And then the rest of it's your facilities. And it's the first two things that mess up your facilities anyway. So if you get your staff engaged, get your staff working properly, they will help your members, and then your facilities will be better because actually your staff will take care of it because they're far more engaged. So the tool that we've been working on for the last few years, and let me just say, we were ready to launch this thing just as lockdown happened in February 2020. We thought, yep, we've got it, we nailed it.
Damn you, lockdown.
Yeah, and then Boris spoke. And that was, and we've been basically working on it ever since. So this is now perfect, we think. We've actually tweaked this a lot. We've been doing it in the club now for since April. We've been doing it in my club. So anyway, go.
So let me give you a little whistle-stop tour around this. So this is called the Contribution Compass, and this is at the core of what we do at Fitness Club Dynamics. So if we look around the top here, we've got 4 different profile types: activating, inspiring, sustaining, and refining. And we call these energies. And everybody has a balance of some sort of these 4 energies, and it's that defines who we are, how we behave, and how we do things, how we interact with other people, or not in some cases. And in the purest form of each of the energies falls in the middle. So we've got the catalyst, the coach, the custodian, and the conductor profiles. And in between those, we've got a blend of different types of energies. Now, a lot of profiling tools will pigeonhole you in a particular place and say, this is you, this is your identity, this is who you are. Most profiling tools tend to do that. This is a little bit different because in any moment, we can be anywhere in the compass. So I'm not particularly a detail guy, so my refining energy is very low, as Matt will attest to, because the refining people would have come here today instead of going to the golf club that's
in Derby.
In Derby, yeah, okay. Anyway, the greens are looking really nice for those that enjoy the golf. So along the top, we've got activating energy. People with activating energy have got bags of drive, dynamism, creativity, very, very good at getting stuff off the ground. We move a little bit further round to the right. The inspiring energy people are relationship and people focused. Very good at building teams, really good at interacting with people and members. Down the bottom, we've got sustaining energy, good project managers, very good completers, very strongly customer-focused in everything they do. So they're very, very strong list tickers, so they're very good at getting things done. And finally, the refining energy is people with a systems approach to what they do, and have got a very sharp eye for detail. Now, going from top to bottom, activators tend to trust their gut feeling on things. Sustainers are the opposite of that. They tend to be more sensory aware and more grounded in reality. So you've got dreamers up the top doing all the future planning, and you've got people down the bottom trying to hold them back all the time. So you can see sometimes in teams where you start to get a little bit of conflict in a team. If we go along the horizontal axis, we've got extreme refiners have got much higher eye for detail. They tend to be more natural introverts, and the higher the inspiring tend to be more natural extroverts. Now, although I'm not a detail person, out of work, my passion is music, and I'm meticulous when it comes to music. So my refining energy in that is very, very high. So it just shows that you can be anywhere in the compass you choose to be if you're prepared to pay the price for it. And if you're doing detail and you're not a detail person for quite a bit of time, you'll find that it wipes you out both mentally and physically. So there is always a price to pay for it.
And this is basically what my team looked like before we profiled them. So you can see that we had pretty much all 4 energies covered, but none of us knew what the hell each of us was doing, and none of us really communicated properly. And that was the problem that we really felt with the team and how we needed to find a solution. So from the profiling, what we've managed to do now is to smooth those lines out, and so we can actually communicate and interact properly. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
So how do you fix performance then? This is a great quote by Einstein. Everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing it's stupid. This is all based around the foundation of flow. So there are 4 different types of flow. And flow is the sweet spot right in the middle of the diagram you can see here. So if you're challenged, if you've got a challenge with something and you don't have the skill, then you get anxious about things. But if you've got the skill to do something but you're not being challenged, then you get bored. Flow sits right in the middle of that, where everything just works effectively. If you're in peak flow, so things are going really well, the day just disappears without trace, you're having fun, you're doing things that you enjoy. We've all had days like that where things have just gone right and you want the day never to end. At the opposite end of that, you've got a no-flow day where things absolutely drag. You think it's 5 o'clock and it's actually 2 and you think, God, I've got another 3 hours of this. We end up moving between these different states. And what you want to try and do is to try and move yourself up one level. Recognise where your flow is and where you are, and try and move yourself out of that. And sometimes that can be reassigning different tasks to other members of your team, or even outsourcing some things, but recognising where your energy is at that moment and where it needs to go. And we pulled this together from a KPMG report, which was done about 3 years ago. And it looks at the difference between an engaged and a disengaged team. So the first impact is company revenue. So 19.2% up as opposed to a third down if you've got an engaged team versus a disengaged team. It has a massive impact on staff sickness. So you end up losing people for up to 6 days a year because they're just disengaged with what they're doing and they can't be bothered. Understanding the customer experience, 70% up. So this is people who really get their members. So PTs who are connected to their members, who understand them, who go out of their way to try and help them, 70% up. The increase in staff advocacy. So this is the percentage of employees who would recommend the company's products or services. So would really push what the gym does. And a 17% increase in profit. And finally, the team retention goes up by 87%. So you don't end up losing people. It's very, very difficult, even with the salaries in the fitness industry, it's very difficult to leave a job that you love, where you're engaged, where you're in flow, where you're doing what you're naturally built to do. So how do you measure flow? Your team meetings.
So when we had the training, we realised that actually some of the people in the team were doing the wrong things. We'd got one guy who was very high in refining energy, and we were forcing him to do spinning classes, and he just absolutely bloody hated it. But we made him do it, and we just said, just get in there and do it. So what we did was we sat down as a team, and we said, right, let's get the right people doing the right things at the right time, and we'll get them more engaged. So we did this in team meetings. Every single meeting now, we ask every single week, how in flow are people? We give them a score of 1 to 10. And what's happened is those that are low, so if they come in 1 week and they say, oh, my flow this week, I'm not feeling great, it's been a level 3, the rest of the team say, right, what's up, what's gone on, how can we fix that for you? And we found that they've really supported and lifted them and actually really made them feel better. And the other side happens as well. When someone comes in and says, oh, I'm just killing it this week, I'm flow 9, it's absolutely amazing. Why? What's gone on? What's been good? And they share the good experiences and et cetera that they've had that week. So we try and make sure that the team are doing the right things that they love all the time. Now, if the whole team is feeling low, then we need to have a proper conversation. And of course, lockdown didn't help with that. So we have had moments where things are feeling a bit shit. So we've basically pulled everyone together. How do we fix that? Let's lift the team. Let's actually recognise where the team is right now, rather than just battling through. Let's just pause and have a chat about it in the weekly meetings.
So could I just ask for a show of hands? If you're 80% in flow or above at the moment, doing what you're doing every day, so you're smashing out the park, you're loving coming into work and things are just amazing. Just a show of hands, who's 80% or above? 70? 60? 50%? Anything below 50%?
Damn.
Interesting way to talk. And just tell me about your teams. What do you think your teams are in flow? So 80%, do you think your team's at 80% or above in flow at the moment? Yep. Great. Nice. Very nice.
Excellent.
70? 60? 50? Or below? Interesting. So we've got a probably about 60% in the room, in flow and teams being in flow. Now that shifts. That can shift every week. You know, you can sometimes just have a crap week or a crap day. That happens, and we're never going to be in peak flow all the time. It's impossible. You know, we'd be walking around in Disneyland if that was the case. So we need to accept that sometimes we're not going to be in the right space. It's recognising that and trying to move out of that. This brings us on to salary costs and what your team is leaving on the table. So we've prepared a little mini budget based on the average fitness instructor salary. Matt?
So we found these figures on glassdoor.co.uk. Now, Gaz did this exercise with me on another business I had called EasyPay. And this is where I actually really bought into this profiling stuff, because it actually frightened the living hell out of me how much my staff are costing me and how much they're not delivering and how much they're leaving on the table. So we did this. We've got the figures here. You can see the average fitness instructor salary is 22,000, and then we've worked through all the numbers down there. So the total cost, basically, of having an employee after you've gone through all these things is about £40,000.
And but by all means, work this out for yourself. Look at what your time, your HR costs, and everything are. A lot of the time, people just tend to put down the national insurance contributions and the pension, the stuff that they know about. If you really drill into it, there are so many unknown and hidden costs that don't really occur to you. So the cost is a much higher than you think it is. So if we come back to the point of flow, if as this figure suggests that we're spending out 40 grand there, if you've got a team in flow, then brilliant. If your team's 50% in flow, then half of that money has been left on the table, and none of us have money to piss away these days. So let me ask you a question. What would you do if you had a printer in the office that was working at 50% efficiency? What would you do with it? Yeah, you get rid of it. Or you get it repaired at least. But we're prepared to accept that about our teams. So it's an interesting thing to think about, but it doesn't have to be that way.
So this is my team. So we profiled the whole team, and these are the results we got, and these are the energies that we got for everyone on there. And it's quite glaring as we look down the numbers there that we are a people-focused business. Shock. It's what we do for a living, right? So the inspiring numbers come out very high. So all my team are all very focused on people. They love people. One of the issues that we found was in the activating energy, we were quite low in that, which is the getting things started energy, coming up with ideas. I was quite high on that, so that's why that number's come up a bit. But if you take me out of that number, my team have none of that rate, basically. They're pretty low on that. And also, we're a little low on the refining, so detail is a problem for us, which, yeah, it's definitely a problem.
So when I did the coaching with the team, I said, tell me what your team meetings are like. Oh, it's fun. We have great team meetings. We'll have a little bit of chat, and there's lots of fun. And so that's great, and what happens after the meetings? Oh, well, we have a bit more chat, a bit more coffee, and we maybe won't get a few of the things done that we talked about, but we can put them off till next week. And, maybe one of the ads that we put out has got a couple of mistakes in it, and sometimes things don't really happen as we planned. And I thought, right, okay. So you can see where the energy is showing up there. The refining energy, the eye for detail is not happening. And you can see with a team report where the stress happens. So you take Matt out of this team, and the activating energy is pretty low. And if you look at the refining energy, we've got a couple of refiners that are relatively high. But if one of them's the manager, if she's away, then the refining energy struggles there as well. So it's looking at how that team balances out and what it needs. Now, it doesn't mean to say that you have to go out and start recruiting different profile types, but you need to understand what everybody does and what each function in the team stands for and what they need. And then the gaps start to show up. This is really useful as a recruitment tool as well, because you can profile your incoming PTs. You can write an ad that targets the right sort of person. You can do a star candidate profiler where you say, this is my best PT. If I could recruit 5 guys like this would be amazing. And it'll tell you how close or how far you are away to that. So you might need to train them up in the skill, yes, but the behaviour will be a pretty close match for what you're looking for.
So this is the overall picture. Now, one of the issues that we have in my club is that a good friend of mine who works for MyZone, who invented it, he'd walk in the office and he'd go, I've had an idea. And everyone would just go, right, let's do it. And I'm exactly the same. I walk in, everyone stop everything, I've got an idea. And I'll give them the idea, and then I'll walk out the office, and I won't ever mention it ever again because I've forgotten about it by the time I walked out the office.
I'm the same.
Yeah, which is a problem because we're working together. So this is basically, obviously with a team, you're looking to try and get 25% across the board if you can. We're never going to achieve that. I recognise that. We won't have the detail there. But as Gaz just said, it's working out where your weaknesses are and making sure that you've got those people that can do the detail stuff, trying to pull up the performance a little bit rather than the personality profiling.
And this is a look at the Atrium Fitness members. So we've started this program to beta test it in Matt's club, and this is the result so far of what the member makeup looks like. So
back at the beginning when Gaz and I were talking about this, we had that moment with John in the training session, and he said, "I'd like to beast you, etc." And everyone went, "Oh, I don't like to train like that." Gaz and I, we had a loving glance across the room, and we looked at each other, and we went, what if we could understand our members a little bit more? What if we could actually get the member with the right personality, with the right trainer? What if we knew a little bit about that member before they even walked through the door? And that's where this journey's come from. So we've been doing this with my members. Now, as I said, I had 1,800 members before we started. We're running around about 1,600 at the moment, and we've done several hundred of these with those members. And these are the results we've got. Now, it's quite interesting because you can see there's a massive slant towards
inspiring
energy, which is what most of my team are. So it's a shock that the members are the same as my teams. But what it does mean is that we are not marketing in the right way to get the rest of those people. And we need to change our marketing message. We're obviously getting it right for inspiring people, the people. They want to be with other people. They want to do classes. They want to do things like that, which is what Guy was talking about previously. Well, what about the other people? What about the people that aren't coming into the gym? How do we market to them in the right way and get the right messages and the right language in our marketing material? So
this basically gives you some options and some insights, and it ties really nicely in with Guy's talk earlier. So we've got 43% as coach profiles, 4 as champions, 20 as catalysts. So essentially, these people fall around the right-hand side. So it's people focused in the main. So if you know that, you can drill deeper into that and market deeper and harder into your communities to find more of the right people, more of the people that are already at the gym. Or you could look at the people that you're not targeting at the moment and start to tweak the messages. So if you're trying to land a message with, let's look at conductor profile. So 14% conductors. Conductors are high refining energy, stats and detail people. If you're trying to market to them in a happy, clappy, inspiring way, it is not going to land with them. You need to talk in their language. Talk to them about stats, analytics, and data. That's how you start to draw them in. So essentially, you could have 4 very different marketing messages that land with each of the 4 profile types to bring more people into your gym. This is, we've got 2 different profilers. We've got a profiler for gym owners and the teams, and we've got a profiler for members. And this is what we come up with when we looked at members. So people with high activating energy, forward thinking, future goals and visions, high energy, relentless drive. How they like to train, short, frequent workouts, lots of variety of movement, high impact and loads of energy. Inspirers, relationship focused, like a bit of chat, like to mix. They go really well with classes, high energy environments, lots of fun. So you can see a slightly different way of training. Sustaining energy, very organized. This was one of the people in Matt's team was a high sustainer, and that's why she was completely turned off with the Army PT trying to coach her in an activating way, because she needs a good structure, a clear lesson plan, consistency, the same time every week. She likes things done in a certain way. And finally, refining energy, very structured in their lives, relying on data to make their decisions. So using proven techniques, they'll measure everything. They want the whole detail. They want all the stats. They'll read their whole report. We didn't read our whole report, did we, the first time?
Still haven't.
Looked at the pictures. So it's a very different approach. However, once you understand this, once you can match the PTs to the energy of the people that you're coaching and market the right messages, then you've got a much better chance of bringing more people into your club and talking to them in the right way. So that the member leaves the club and says, I don't know what it is about this club, but they just get me.
So, what we've talked about is about getting more out of your team and how to keep hold of your team. One of the problems we've got at the moment, certainly in my gym, is we're struggling to recruit. We can't find any staff at the moment. We've been advertising for several months and we can't find any staff. I need at least 2 at the moment. But we don't have a high staff turnover. We've noticed that if we get people doing the right things, getting them engaged, they feel happier, they stay longer, and then all that just flows down. So getting more out of your team by getting them doing the right things is definitely the message you should take away from here, and get them doing that.
And leverage your strengths and that of your team as well. Know what your own profile is, know what your team's profile is, and know what they need and how they need support. When you really tune in properly to this, it makes a massive difference in your team. I would never bring anybody into my business now, or if we were recruiting for a customer of ours, I just wouldn't put anybody in front of them with that profile in them. And we can now profile the job as well. So you can run a free profile on the job. Sorry, free. It's costed. What was your words, Guy? I love that. It's paid for by somebody else. It's funded. It's funded. It's not free. So we can do that online. So you get the energy of the job. So you know what you need to recruit for your gym. Because although most of Matt's PTs have got high inspiring energy, it might be a little bit different if you're running a gym in a different place. If you're running a gym in central London where there's a lot of financiers coming in, that kind of energy is not going to land very well with them. And those PTs would have to adapt their behaviour.
And it's important to recognise that we're actually all different. The members are the most important thing. That's what pays the bills, right? So you have to figure out what the members are, like we've been doing in the atrium, and also getting the right people with the right people at the right time. That's key. And the feedback we've had from members has been absolutely superb. They're getting much more out of their workouts than they had before.
And finally, getting your team in flow is the first step to increasing your profits as well. That'll start to show up in your bottom line. Would it be okay if we left you with an offer? Because it's never a good conference without an offer, is it?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So if you buy a £50 profile today, you've got a personal debrief worth £150, so you can do a deep dive into your own profile, plus 2 hours of free training to understand what your team might be missing as well and how you can fix it. All that for 50 quid. How do they book that, Matt?
So on your chairs was a form, a little flyer thing that we thankfully have, because Gaz had them in his car in Derby this morning when he was in the wrong place. Did I mention it?
Dick.
And if you fill that out, fill in your details, one of you will get a free profile. You'll get all that for free, which is great. But just express an interest and then we can have a chat afterwards. If you fill out the form and hand it to Gaz or I at some point, or if you give it to Rob if you can't find me, then they'll get through to us.
I'm open to any questions.
How have we done for time? A bit late. Oh, sorry.
That'll probably be me. Late for everything.
Definitely. Any questions
Any
at all?
questions on anything regarding your team, your profiles, what has showed up for you in your team, what showed up for yourself, anything that resonates with you in there or doesn't? Yes? That's right. Some people will not always agree with what they see in their profile. It's usually higher refiners. If I'm honest, in my experience, I've profiled hundreds of people, and it's usually people that need evidence to support that. So that's why it's really important to do a debrief with people, understand where they're coming from, and what happens in a report. The report is a general look at at that particular energy. And can we flick back just very quickly, just to the talent frequencies? Something showing the talent frequencies. That'll do. Okay. So these 4 numbers here are called talent frequencies, and this is your personal balance. So if you see this, and this is a coach profile, and the inspiring energy is really high, you might also have actually quite high refining energy. And in your report, it says you're not a detail person. All you do is people. And somebody might read that and say, well, that's not actually quite right. So understanding that balance in the debrief, and if somebody said that to me, I say, well, yeah, of course, because I'm looking at your numbers and your refining energy is 20%. It's not that low. So I don't imagine you would struggle with something like that. So the interpretation in the debrief is really important. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions? we'll be around for a while, so come and speak to us privately if you want to run through anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you.